Hi. We're witnessing a world in the convulsions of a new order being born. But we don't know what that order is. Some people say that new technology is permitting democracy to flourish in ways that it never could have before, and that we're going to see the world as it's never been before, with democracies flourishing everywhere. There is another possibility, however, and that's what makes this kind of a crisis. And that is a possibility that history is reasserting itself in some ways that we don't understand. 1,000 years ago, 900 years ago, there was a conflict. Most people misread, I think, the Crusades and see it as Europeans going into the Middle East to battle with Muslims based on religion. But if you look at the map, you see that Muslims were in Spain. You see that they went through most of what we now call Eastern Europe. We see that even the land of the Holy Land was once a land for Christians, every inch of it conquered by the sword. And if you look at where the last battles of the Crusades were fought, they were fought in Spain and in Austria. You know, the multiple battles and sieges in Austria. And then we had this period of quiet. But some people are now fearing that that belief, the belief that you can conquer the world for faith by the sword, is being waged again. And the most obvious signs are groups like Al-Qaeda and groups that clearly stand out. But people fear that there is a more subversive movement that has swept through Europe and that is moving into America that seeks to undermine and defeat the West by pirating its most treasured institutions, its respect for diversity, its respect for inclusion, and then first carving out little fiefdoms where the laws do not apply. Recently, the British Prime Minister warned about how these diversity projects had failed. But a more serious thing is if there is this desire to conquest and to subject not only Christendom but the entire world before a kind of one world order, a one world government, the universal Sharia law state, the caliphate. If that's what's going on, then the West is faced with very serious challenges. And to our core, as a people, we're not prepared, and in many nations, to face this crisis or to analyze it or to deal with it objectively. And part of that reason is that once Europe and the West were not just the free world, they were Christendom. They were not just this ability to have the values that we have and to live the way we live. Those things were all anchored in deep-seated philosophical and often religious beliefs about the value of the individual and the meaning of freedom towards either establishing salvation on an eternal plane or on a temporal plane, but they were motivated by a very fixed set of values. And now we just have this belief that, our philosophy has been reduced to a Bugsy Berkeley song. Anything goes. That's the meaning of freedom. The West will not survive this present challenge if it does not find a set of values greater than procedural value or functional values, and until it has something to that vision of man that animated so much of the last few centuries. Man as noble, man as either being in a relationship with God, or man being the measure of all things. Take your pick. But we haven't had values like that for the last 70 years or more. And if we do not recover our identity and start asserting it and start acting from it, we will not long endure.